EXEC Timeout as a security feature. Now, EXEC Timeout is included on the blueprint for the CCNA security exam, and it is a rudimentary security feature. It's nothing you're going to defend your castle with, but basically how it's used as a security feature is that if it's a case that you have a terminal session up and you're in your core router and your boss says, "Get the hell in here, I want to chew your ass," and you walk away, and you don't lock your computer, which you should be doing every time you get up. But if you don't, you have that terminal session open, so now any schmo can walk by, say, "Oh, hey, look, that's a core router. I wonder what happens if I do a write erase reload," and it's going to do that with your credentials. So exec timeout can help out a little bit in that case, whereas if you have it set, let's just say, to the default of 10 minutes, 10 minutes after you walk away, it's going to automatically disconnect the session. So it shortens the window for the bad guy to walk by your computer and start messing with the core router. Again, you should be locking your computer before you walk away, and even if you don't, you should probably have a screensaver set to fire off after whatever 10 minutes that would lock your computer. But I could see where this would be, like I said, a very low level simple security feature. So what value should I use for my exec timeout? Really, the answer to this is there is no answer. You can use whatever you feel fits best. The default timeout of 10 minutes is good. I find this to be a little bit short because if I have multiple windows open and I'm doing configuration on multiple devices, 10 minutes sometimes can be a little too fast. Whereas in our network, we set it to 30 minutes, which I think is a good setting, because if it's 30 minutes before you get back to a device, probably not that important. One thing that I would avoid is disabling the exec timeout feature. Now, for labs, yeah, I mean, we do a lot of stuff that we wouldn't do in the real world because of the security implications. So for instance, we'll set the default user to have privilege level 15. We'll disable the exec timeout so it never times out. That's fine in a lab. Do not do this on production equipment. I've seen this in production networks where people will do this under the console line for whatever reason. They'll disable the timeout because I think in their mind they're thinking, okay, well, the only people that are going to know how to get into my console line are going to be people that have access to my data center or whatever. Well, yeah, there's a lot of monkeys that have access to your data center, and if all they have to do is plug in a console cable, which usually is sitting next to the router or still plugged into the router, and then hit enter, and you haven't logged out of your session, guess what? They're in your Cisco device and they're probably using your credentials. So when they go ahead and write erase reload that device, the security audit is going to show that you were connected to the console port and you did that. So there's really no good reason not to have this enabled. At the very least, have it configured, but set to an hour maybe or something, but don't disable it. Again, in labs it's fine because it's a lab, but don't do this in production. Alright, let's summarize this. I'm probably going to bore you because I'm just going to read directly from this slide. By setting the exec timeout, you're telling the Cisco device to automatically disconnect users on a line once they've been idle for the duration of the exec timeout value. The feature is configured on a line-by-line basis. Keep that in mind. It's not a global command. This feature allows the Cisco device to clear lines so that they are available to other users. Again, keep in mind that you do have a finite number of lines that are available. It also acts as a simple security mechanism so that an unattended terminal session can time out before it becomes an open doorway to a creative network reconfiguration. Again, it's a pretty low-level security feature, but technically it is. Alright, thanks once again for joining me in the Packet Lab. Hope to see you over in the lab session of this, where we'll put the exec timeout through its paces. Again, thanks for joining, and I hope this helps you on your way to becoming a network god.